young, my auntie used to always say, common sense told your ass not to do that. So then I asked her, how do we get common sense? She said, you gotta ask questions. And I thought, oh, wow, wait a minute, is that so me? But then I started to ask questions about everything. People can't just say something to me and get away with it and just think that I'm not going to ask the deeper question. First and foremost, why are you saying it? And what's in it for you? So at the end of the day, empirical evidence helps you to overstand something, not understand. When you stand under somebody else's belief, you begin to become a peasant of their beliefs. You begin to dig into having their ideology become your truth. But when you overstand, you begin to research and you become proactive, not reactive. I'm just saying, wake your ass up with me.
Wake your ass up. Podcast is streaming on Pandora, Alexa, Audible, iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and all other audio online platforms for those who prefer conscious content with context. Go ahead, subscribe to Wake Your Ask Up listening audience. Join the impact. Wednesday community virtual meetups and meet your fellow like-minded neighbors.
You know, just when you think you've kind of got a handle on the big economic stories, the ground shifts. And right now we're seeing something really, really interesting, quite unexpected, actually, with student loan debt here in the U.S. Because, you know, for a long time, the talk was all about forgiveness.
Right. That dominated the headlines.
But now the Biden administration is, well, actively collecting that debt.
Right.
And apparently really ramping things up.
That's exactly right. And this isn't just, you know, another general overview of the student loan crisis.
Okay.
For this deep dive, we're really zeroing in on this stepped-up collection effort. We're using our source material to look at, well, who's really feeling this and what are the bigger implications? It gets particularly interesting when you look at certain groups of voters who maybe didn't see this coming.
Absolutely. That initial plan for really broad student loan forgiveness under President Biden. I mean, we all remember that.
Big news at the time.
Yeah. And then it got blocked, right? By the Supreme Court back in 2023.
Correct. That ruling was a major turning point.
Okay. So let's unpack that. Because after that decision, the strategy sort of shifted quietly almost.
It did. The focus moved towards rebuilding the actual machinery for collecting the debt. Things that have been put on hold.
The collection infrastructure.
Exactly. Getting that back online. And now repayment is back in earnest.
And what are we seeing now that payments are back?
Well, what's quite notable, according to our analysis, is that delinquency rates are actually climbing.
Okay, so people are struggling to pay.
It suggests that, a growing number of borrowers are finding it hard to make those payments. And that likely feeds into why the Department of Education is using, well, more assertive collection strategies.
And we're not talking about polite phone calls here, are we?
Not entirely, no.
This deep dive really highlights that this more forceful collection is hitting, maybe surprisingly, a specific segment of Trump voters.
It is. That might sound a bit counterintuitive.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about?
Well, the source material really emphasizes that a significant chunk of Trump's base, particularly working class folks, maybe without a 4-year college degree, and maybe those who went to, say, for-profit colleges, trade schools, or community colleges, they are now squarely in the sights of these collection actions.
So it's not abstract for them. It's real.
Very real. It's hitting their finances directly. The data we looked at suggests, many in this group felt kind of left behind by traditional systems.
Right.
And they gravitated towards Trump's message, the forgotten man idea.
Yeah, fighting for them.
And now they're dealing directly with a pretty forceful arm of the federal government. Maybe the very government they expected to be, well, less intrusive under that banner.
That's a fascinating clash, isn't it, between political alignment and economic reality?
It really is.
So what are these forceful methods? What are we actually seeing?
They're quite direct. Things like wage garnishments.
Meaning money taken right out of your paycheck.
Exactly. A portion of your salary automatically deducted. Then there are Treasury offsets.
Okay. What's that?
That's where if you're expecting, say, a federal tax refund, the government can intercept it, take that money and apply it to your student loan debt.
Wow. That could be a huge blow, especially if you're counting on that refund.
Absolutely, particularly for lower income individuals. And the government is also handing over these debts to private collection agencies.
And they have their own ways of doing things.
They certainly do, often quite assertive.
Okay, but wasn't there that pause?
Nah.
during COVID.
Yes, and that's crucial context. The source material really points this out.
Right.
That pause on repayments went on for quite a while. A lot of borrowers just got used to not making those payments.
Became the norm almost.
Kind of, yeah. So the restart, especially combined with these tougher collection methods, it's left a lot of people feeling unprepared, financially vulnerable.
Okay, here's where it gets really, really interesting, at least to me. The irony. The source material really drills down on this. You have individuals, many of whom were drawn to Donald Trump's promises of economic relief, maybe a smaller government footprint.
Less government interference, yeah.
Exactly. And now they're the ones facing what you could argue is one of the most determined government debt collection efforts we've seen recently.
It's a stark contrast.
A direct federal action that they probably thought wouldn't be aimed at them so strongly.
Precisely. That contrast is key. And the source raises a really big question here. Where's the big backlash you might expect from, say, conservative circles?
Right. Because you hear plenty from student groups and progressives.
Oh, definitely. They've been very vocal, calling the collections predatory, morally backwards, things like that.
What from the other side?
It's been, well, noticeably quieter, more subdued, at least initially.
Does the source material suggest why that might be?
It offers a few possibilities. Maybe it's pride. People reluctant to admit they're struggling with debt.
Could be.
Or maybe just disbelief, like a slow dawning that, wow, this is actually happening to me.
Or maybe the full weight hasn't landed on everyone yet.
That's possible, too. It could be a delayed reaction as more people feel the effects.
And this whole situation, it pushes us towards some deeper questions, doesn't it?
It really does. If you step back and look at the bigger picture, you're looking at this core tension. Is collecting this debt, an act of fiscal responsibility, getting taxpayer money back?
The government needs to balance its books, that argument.
Right. Or is it putting an unfair burden on working class people, many already facing economic headwinds?
It forces you to weigh those viewpoints. On one side, these were loans, legal contracts, they need to be paid back.
The contractual obligation argument.
But then the other side says, hold on, is the system itself fair? Does it maybe trap people in debt while benefiting the institutions?
Exactly. Is the system flawed?
Yeah.
And the source makes a really critical point here.
What's that?
This isn't just a simple Democrat versus Republican thing. It goes beyond that left-right divide.
Okay, how so?
Well, at its heart, it's about accountability, isn't it? For the borrowers, sure, but also for the schools, for the lenders.
Transparency, too, maybe. And how these loans work.
Yes, transparency. And just the whole big, messy, politicized issue of debt and forgiveness in America today.
So let's bring it back to those Trump voters we mentioned. If you were someone drawn to that America First, smaller government, working class focus, how does getting a wage garnishment notice feel? Does it feel like patriotism, paying your dues?
The source materials suggest maybe not. It might feel more like a direct contradiction of those promises.
Almost like a betrayal.
Perhaps. That's the potential disconnect being highlighted.
And with the 2024 election cycle really heating up.
Yeah, student debt is definitely back on the table as a major issue.
Across the board, really.
Absolutely. And this intensified collection effort just adds another layer, another complication to that whole debate.
So wrapping this up, what we're seeing is this real tug of war. The government trying to recoup debt.
Which it argues it needs to do.
Right. Versus the very real financial strain this puts on people, including, unexpectedly, some folks who might have thought their political alignment offered some protection.
And maybe the core takeaway, really highlighted in our sources, is that when the government decides it's time to collect debts, it doesn't matter so much who's in the White House or what campaign promises were made. Your ideology might not be the shield you thought it was.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with something to chew on. Thinking about how this student loan debt is being reclaimed right now in America. What's the, let's say, the moral cost? Forget who's in power for a second, or your own politics.
Yeah, what are the deeper implications of this approach?
For the individuals caught up in it, for their communities.
Yeah.
And, well, for the country as a whole. Something to think about.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for signing up or just listening to the podcast. If this is your first time, we want to welcome you with open arms. Thank you so much for coming into the Wake Your Ask Up collective, and we really, truly appreciate your time consideration. We understand the importance of time currency and what it costs you to spend that on us, so we want to thank you for just patronizing with your ears. Hopefully you'll take the time to share and also invite others to join. Remember to make sure you sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter is going to be a very important piece keeping us together and informing us. And it's really engaging because what we want to do is report what you would like to hear. Investigate what needs to be investigated. And so at the end of the podcast, go ahead, please be sure to do 3 things. Don't complain. Don't become complacent because you become complicit when you do those things. So we want to make sure that we become the difference in this experience called life that all of us deserve and desire to feel. So wake your ass up. Go ahead, hit the link and join the newsletter. We appreciate you. If this is your first time, like I said again, we just want to love on you and hug on you. Thank you so much. And if you're a repeat listener, thank you for coming back. Thank you for letting us know that it does matter for us to continue the journey, and hopefully you'll travel with us. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll talk to you again in gratitude.